Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to the world of investing, three words come to my mind: overwhelming, intimidating, and scary. Without a doubt, becoming a master of investing right can boost your income. However, how does investing work exactly? Well, for an ordinary person like us, this question seems never ending. On that note, let's revisit what an expert has to say with his 30 years of experience on investing. I, Ayushi Murarka, welcome you to the 12th webinar on lessons from 30 years of investing powered by Nike Group Company. And just before we get into it, I would like to tell you a bit about NyQuil Planners Private Limited. NyQuil Planners Private Limited is your wealth wisher, which provides a customized investment plan to reach your specific real life goals on the quest of something big. So guys, go on to our website www.nyquil.in and see if NyQuil is for you. Well, even though markets may change, good investing advice is timeless. And so is our association with one of our happy client, Mr. Bharat Patel, Deputy Chair General Manager of BPCL. He is also a co-author of books on SAP Business Intelligence, a very modest and soft-spoken person. He is a man of disciplines, having long-term perspective and committed towards achieving his life goals. He has been a part of Nike family for 22 years now and has three-generation relationship with us. We feel delighted to have you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ayushi. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Team NayakWealth, for this giving me this opportunity. Well, just a few words on our long journey with NayakWealth. Actually, we are three generation, as mentioned by you, investing with NayakWealth. And this journey started somewhere in 1998 when my dad retired from NIBM Pune and shifted to Mumbai with me. And he was looking for some good investment who can help him in his investment. So I checked with my colleagues, and one of my colleagues, recommended that there is Mr. Nayak who can help in achieving this. So I thank that colleague for at least this recommendation, and we started this journey with Mr. Nayak, and I must thank that gentleman because what I feel is that one thing you need in life to become a wealthy is very genuine and trustworthy financial advisor. Okay, and that we received in the form of Mr. Nayak. So I have a very faint memory of Mr. Nayak, Nikhil Bhai, actually visiting my house and advising my dad. Uh, and finally, I also continued the journey of my investment. And Mr. Vinod Mane is helping me from last 18 years. And in between, Mr. Vijay Singh was also there for some time. So I must say that Nikhil Bhai is a very lucky man to have such a wonderful team of people, supporting clients. So Mr. Vijay, Mr. Vinod, both are really sincere, very honest, and always provided the guidance which I required to, support my or achieve my financial goals. So whenever I have called Vinod Bhai, he is always available and he provides a very prompt service. So I'm not just putting this statement. I have so many instances to, support my claim. I will just share one instance that one day while cleaning our house, in the Diwali, when we clean our house, I found one certificate of Morgan Stanley. And that certificate was bearing my dad's name. And that time my dad was no more. And it was on a single, name. So I was worried that whether I have lost this money. So I called Vinod Bhai and he said, no, I'll do everything to get this money back. And that time Morgan Stanley was no more in India. I mean, all these schemes were wound up and it was taken over by someone else. So he found out everything that this scheme is taken over by whom and how to, put it on our name. So all the things which was required, I think he बहुत सारे धक्के विनोद भाई ने खाए, and finally he ensured that I get my money back. Okay, so thanks to Vinod bhai, thanks to Team Nayak for supporting us. Really good people and ready to help anytime. And now my son from last couple of years, he has also started his SIP through Nayak Wealth, and I also believe that he is also very very happy with the services from Nayak Wealth. So this is something about, genuine human touch and investing. But being a technology man, I must say that Nayak Wealth is also, supporting the client investment through technology initiative. Like their mobile application is wonderful. I mean, whatever you need as an investor, it is there available. It's very intuitive and very, very easy to use. Okay. So I thank Nikhil Bhai and his team for supporting my financial goals in this last 22 years. And I would like to conclude it because I am also eagerly waiting for Ramdev sir's session. I wish everyone very good health and wealth too. Thank you once again. Over to you, Ayushi. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those kind words, sir. I would now like to invite Chief Growth Officer of Nike Wealth and Executive Director of Nike Group Companies, Mr. Nikhil Nayak, to say a few words.
Thank you, Ayushi, and thank you, Bharat Bhai, for a wonderful introduction or wonderful sharing your story, the real stories with us. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you for so many years. I go back and I remember meeting up Dad a long time ago, and I'm sure we will continue this relationship forward in a far more meaningful way. I also want to reiterate that I remember Zakir Hussain saying once that without the audience, the artist does not exist, and I think without investors, we will not exist. We will. I mean, ultimately, our goal, our everything begins and ends with investors. So, thank you very much for being there with us, for imposing your trust with us, and I'm looking forward to having Ramdev sir today. And we've had one session and there was some connectivity issue, and I was glad that he agreed to come again and share his insights over last 30 years. So over to you, Ayushi, and just check if we can, I mean, sir has logged in or not.
Thank you, sir. Beginning with our session today, Lessons from 30 Years of Investing, I would like to remind all of you what Mr. Buffett said. Games are won by players who focus on playing field and not by those whose eyes are glued on the scoreboard. Here we have joined to listen to the man whose name in itself is a complete introduction, Mr. Ramdev Agarwal, Chairman and brain behind wealth creation of Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Nike family feels honored today to have yet another chance to learn from your wealth wisdom, sir. So let me take you through his success story. Coming from a small village in Chhattisgarh, Mr. Agarwal started his journey in 1987 and then went to Mumbai for his chartered accountancy studies. The only thing he carried was confidence in his mind, fire in his stomach, and faith in his heart. His journey got right direction in early 90s after meeting legendary advisor Mr. Buffett. The struggle saw the light on 1/1/2001, where the company saw their first 100 crores. But markets don't move in right line, right? And like everyone, he had his shares of ups and downs too. However, his philosophy of buy right, sit tight sailed him through. The man started from zero and has reached more than 1000 crore, believes in three simple things to make money. First, vision. Second, courage. And third, patience. Using his expert knowledge as a chartered accountant, he then developed his own investment process called QGLP, where Q stands for quality, G stands for growth, L for longevity, and P for favorable price. He has also been awarded Rashtriya Samman Patra by CVDT and authored books like The Art of Wealth Creation. Well, Compounding is considered to be the eighth wonder of the world, and who better to explain this to us than the man who has practiced this throughout his career. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our honorable speaker for today, Mr. Ramdev Agarwal.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
How are you, sir? It's been a pleasure to have you back. It's one thing that I must say is that I have learned from you over whatever interactions I've had after this webinars or seminars is humility, and I think that's one thing that I will always take back. Sir, today's conversation, and like we discussed for our viewers also, today we are actually going to talk about your journey, and it's been a dream run over a period of time. And obviously for our viewers, just a disclaimer, we'll not be discussing stocks. If at all Ramdevji speaks about a stock, it's going to be more of from an example point of view, but not as a tip. And sir, we just want to get on with some questions for you. Ken Fisher in his book 10 Roads to Riches has said that the 10th mantra to create wealth is study well, earn well, save well, and invest smartly. And you seem to have been done probably everything. So we want to actually listen from you, hear your story from your CA days, right from 87, then building on Motilal Oswal as an organization, and then also managing your personal wealth. So how would you describe your CA days? And
CA days were crazy. So good evening, friends, all the viewers and listeners. It's a pleasure to be on this platform. I think I missed it last time. I was in MB Valley and we struggled through I realized then that how important is the internet infrastructure. It's like you can miss a mill, but not a good internet infrastructure. So clearly, now I'm back to Mumbai and internet is good. So pleasure to talk to all of you. See this struggle. I mean, when I look back 40, 50 years of Indian economy, my own career, starting from, say, I came to do CA from from Raipur, and the struggle started with doing CA itself between 78 to 83. And CA was is a crazy course, and then it was even more crazier. And the filters were high, and for a below average guy or average guy like me, it was even more difficult, very difficult. So I struggled. And the first trouble was when I was not passing intermediate only. 4 attempts, I didn't pass. 3 attempts. 3 attempts, I didn't pass. So then you have to rewrite your papers and all. I did that, and that time I realized that my handwriting is very bad. I was 24 years old already. So I changed my handwriting at the age of 24. I started from pre-KG, that zero and slant and those kind of stuff. I used to have 400 pages, 4-liners. And I used to, day in, day out, I changed my handwriting. It took about 3-4 months to change the handwriting. And I appeared next time. What happened was that when handwriting was good, there was no speed. And when you go to give exam in CA, you need also speed. So I couldn't complete the papers with a good handwriting. Bad handwriting, yes, I could complete the paper, but it was no use. So again, I failed. So next time, I only did speed practicing of good handwriting. And then I appeared and confidently I passed. So, that was the first serious, fight with the nature or whatever. And getting over it because I was determined to become somehow complete CA. And that's why any kid who comes to me and tell me that I've appeared for final, I'm waiting for one group or something like that, I tell him, first you complete and then only come to stock market, because stock market is very disturbing, very disturbing. Particularly if you are passionate about it, your attention will go. I mean, the moment market opens, that time market used to open at 12, at least you could study till 12. Now market is opens at 9 o'clock. So where is the time to study? You'll be your mind will be occupied in the stock market. And I don't think you will be able to do any justice to a CA degree. So first you complete your CA and then come, and the whole life is there for stock market. So it is important to get your education right and pursue your passion. So best thing which happened was I was always passionate about stock market. Once I landed in Mumbai, I was a voracious reader of finance fictions on finance. So money changers, $1 billion show thing, silver bear. I mean, those were kind of titles I used to read in circulation library, and that shaped my mind at early stage. I used to read all the foreign magazines. My room partner was one of the Air India executive who used to bring tons of foreign magazines, this Business Week, Fortune, in early 80s and all. So that shaped my mind in terms of how you want to build your career and things like that. So dreaming in the lines of larger companies, shaped by all these great magazines and newspapers and books. That was the sitting. I mean, I didn't have a single penny in my pocket. I mean, I was free to dream whatever I wanted to dream. So that was the fun of it. I was not constrained by any legacy. I had no hold that I had to do this, I had to do that. I was free to do whatever I wanted to do, and I was very clear. I wanted to make money, and I wanted to make money. Then when I saw the stock market, I wanted to make money in the stock market. So the rest all became journey. And then when in 85, 84, when I passed out, there was no equity research as a profession. Can you imagine? There was no equity research as a profession in India. One gentleman who had come from US, late Mr. Piparia, he started, he left Unilever and came to India and opened up shop. And he was doing research. He advertised in a quarter page of Economic Times on Sunday. There was only one application. It was me. And I was the head of research. I was the analyst and everything. One man army and research we started learning. And I wrote a book in 85. Both of us together, we wrote a book called Corporate Numbers Game. I think 100 copies were printed. One copy is lying with me. Rest all I don't know where they are. So, it was, but it was a lot of fun to see your name on a book. And so that ended my journey as an formal equity analyst working, I learned a lot from Mr. Piparia. So many things I learned because he had come from Unilever US actually. And he had a lot of ideas about how to fabricate your letters, how to deploy artists and all for your cards, and everything should be professional. Communication has to be very, very careful and those kind of things. So I learned a lot in the beginning. And then finally, somewhere there in my mind that you must start business. So what happened was I had a lot of friends from Rajasthani hostel who always wanted to do business, but they ended up in jobs because they got married quickly and they got stuck with the family. And for the family, they needed 2-3 lakhs, 4 lakhs rupees income. So they had now their hands tied and with the family. So I said, I'm not going to get married till I'm established in business. Now I had no clue what business I'm going to do. And yet I was determined to be marrying only after I'm in business. So that's what really happened. I started Motilal Oswal in 87 with Motilalji. And in 88, I got married because by that time we started earning 2-3 lakhs rupees per annum. 2-3 lakhs rupees. And at that point of time, we were paying full taxes. I think very first year, we must have paid 20,000-30,000 rupees tax. I was very clear, I'm not going to mess around with my books. And I was knowing what is the problem of cash and check because I was a chartered accountant. And I was very clear that I'm not going to allow any cash to roll into my office to settlement or any client who's going to be there. Even in 87, I'm talking about. So we laid the foundation with a very clean thinking in terms of business principles. And that's then 3-4 years, we worked very hard. And in 1990, when we had some money and we decided to buy one membership at 25 lakhs rupees, which is a lot of money for us. We didn't have that money. We borrowed from friends and relatives, and we bought the membership. And the moment we bought the membership, we started sending 6 guys in the ring. That time brokerage rate was 1.5%, 75 basis point for the sub broker and 75 basis point for the main broker. That's how it used to be. The Harshad Mehta bull run started. See, we had no clue who is Harshad Mehta and what is going to happen in 90 to 92. In 18 months, from nothing, we made 30 crores. Okay, and that 30 crores was made not with the speculation, zero speculation, only cash stocks being bought, but we were buying stocks voraciously. We were never having cash. So we didn't know what is market timing, nothing. Whatever stories we used to get, we used to buy and hold it for 1-2 years or whatever, 6 months or 8 months. When the stock is double or triple, we used to sell. So like that, we had 30 crores and then it collapsed. It couldn't have continued because that was complete madness. For some reason or other, it would have collapsed. It collapsed. It turned out to be a scam. So that 30 became 10 crores. Then we were very happy. Now nobody can throw us out because we had 10 crores. 10 crores for 2 hostel students who didn't know. For a cup of tea, we could talk for full day. So, 10 crores was a lot of money. Even today, it's a decent amount of money, but then it was like seriously a lot of money. And then we bought an office finally. And I still didn't have car, I think. I bought car around that time, first time in this thing. And we didn't have, both of us, we didn't have home, house of our own. We were in rentals. And then we started buying our house and Motilalji bought house. And we said now, so for 6-7 years, we again struggled. I mean, we worked very hard. We used to come in the morning. There was no index. There was no FNO. And there was not much of understanding of whether market is underperforming or something like that. We were busy with identifying our own stocks and buying them and selling after 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, whenever it used to double, triple and all. Then came 96, when the India started emerging, after post-liberation, foreigners started coming and the story of software started. And all the software companies, they started booming because of Y2K was coming. So the companies we never heard the name, like Satyam, your QGS Telecom, NIT, Infosys, I mean, all sorts of companies, they started going up. And we participated in that. And by 2000, 80% of my portfolio was technology. And all the stocks were 10 to 15 times up from my purchase price in just 2 years. That is the character of the boom. Boom is irrational and your portfolio performance is irrational. And you live for the boom time, I'm telling you. In a stock market, if you don't live one bull market or boom time, then it is your hard luck that it didn't come in your lifetime. But it is worth living. At least Indian booms are worth living. So I have seen 3 of them. One is 92, 2000 and 2007-8, 2004-8. That most of the people must have seen. So after that, again it collapsed in 2002-3. It was very bad, even worse than now. 2002-3's slowdown in the economy was very bad. It was cyclical slowdown, and then 9/11 happened, and all kinds of chaos were there. Then market started. We thought that we are in bad business. Actually, we thought that at that point of time we said this broking business is useless, and let's get into portfolio management. And that's how the value strategy started in 2003. February 2003, I started. Let's diversify our income from brokerage to brokerage and fees. Till then, we never managed anybody's money ever. Then mother of all the bull market started. Between 2003 to 2008, my portfolio from 30 crores went to 550 crores. It grew by 15 times. And the company became from 10 crores to 1,000 crores. Motilal Oswal grew by 100x in 5 years. And then we went public and everything happened. Then again it collapsed. So, you see, the surviving the bad time is very important in stock market. You have to be completely nuts to be staying back in the stock market in bad time. Because there are so many, when you open the newspaper and when you look at your stocks and all, you feel as if, all the mistakes have been committed by you. And why the hell you should be here, sell it and forget it, and I'll never come back to the stock market. The moment you leave the stock market, market will start changing the color. That is the nature of the market. Job of the market is to throw you out from the market and attract you when you say, I don't want to come, that time they'll entice you. entice you so much that you will sell whatever you have and then buy the stocks at the top of the market. So again in 2008 the same thing happened. Tons of people came, tons of flow came. By that time mutual fund had become a kind of quite popular, and that gave birth to 2-3 big mutual funds like HDFC, Reliance. Between 2003 to 2008, Reliance became from literally nothing, less than 1,000 crores to 1 lakh crore. That was the kind of birth of Reliance mutual fund, and HDFC also around same time. Then 2008 to 14 was again a very dull period. Economy wise also, flow wise also, stock market performance also. It came back, of course, but there was not much happening. Then that became in 2014 again the new dream merchant came, Mr. Narendra Modi. So he gave us promise of Achhe Din, and then market started rallying around all kinds of positivity. So 14, 15, 16, 3 years we had. 14, 15 itself was a bumper year. And then after that, we had a marginal years and things like that. So we made tons of money again in 14, 15, 16. I used to start my presentation with the slide of Mr. Modi, So the kind of promises which was there, and we also bought the dream. It was more of a political promise than anything in that. And since then, I've stopped listening to anybody's promise of anything.
Yeah, but I think you said once that India grows by night, and politicians talk during the day and entrepreneurs grow by night.
So it is all entrepreneurs' journey. I mean, what businesses they do, that's what you have to believe in. And we have to be actually pull ourselves out from listening these promises and a lot of these forecasts. I mean, IMF and all these guys, they're much larger than what they have in them. I mean, they are so institutionalized. I mean, people are individually very intelligent, but when they come together, they all talk useless things. I mean, individually, you cannot doubt their intelligence, I'm telling you. But when they sit on that platform, it is not even worth the paper on which it is written, what they say. I mean, if India has fallen, the GDP has declined in March quarter by say 3%, then after 1 month, they'll say that next quarter will be, kind of some number. They don't have any forecasting capability. They have only hindsight capability, I think. So, 2014. So for last 5-6 years, economy has been, going through all kinds of reforms and all, and but we have been doing well, except for last this 2-3 months. Post-COVID and all, that everybody suffered. But generally, we have done well. And before that, that the portfolio of mine, which had gone to 550, had come down to 225. The 225 had become 1850. And I was making a presentation in Calcutta, and it struck me that because I could see some trouble coming, I said, I think Chautha Bulawa aa gaya hai. 92, 2000, 2008. And now this is the fourth Bulawa, and I should be ready for at least 50% correction. So if I have a 2,000 crore portfolio, I should be ready for 1,000 crores correction. And I'm mentally ready at any point of time for 50% decline.
I remember, sir, you saying this in ET Conclave when we were together, 19th November or December. You said it in that open forum that, be ready for a 50% correction, and if your portfolio does not correct by 50%, there's something wrong. So I remember this just about 3 months before the correction. So
one of the things about the stock market is that you got to be fearless, and you can be fearless only with if you have made money in the market. Because loss of profit is easy, but loss of capital. Say if you have sold some property and you put 100 crores into the market and that goes to 50 crores, you feel very bad. But हमारे ऐसे बंदे जो यहीं चालू किए हुए हैं और यहीं पर 1 करोड़ का 1000 करोड़ कर लिए या 100 करोड़ का 1000 करोड़ कर लिए, वो 1000 करोड़ में 500 का घाटा होता है तो हमको उतना खराब नहीं लगता है. So it's all psychological. It is one and the same thing, but comfort of having made money in the stock market is very important, and that requires a lot of patience. So vision to see, courage to buy, and patience to hold. So what happens is, if by chance you have not started at a convenient time, in bad time of the market, who knows what is a bad time? If after 3 years or 4 years, if the index is 40,000 or say 20,000 Nifty, then we'll say that this was the bottom. But if by chance index goes to 5,000 after 2 years, then we'll say that we are still in the corrective phase. So the dialogue can change looking backward. So it is some amount of luck also, but you need a lot of patience. I mean, and staying invested. I don't know, from the index is going to go from 10,000 to 9,000 first or 11,000 first. I have no clue, and I don't want to know anybody's view, even the astrologer's view. I don't want, because I'm not going to go by that. I'm going to remain invested. उसकी मर्जी है 9,000 करे, उसकी मर्जी 11,000 करे. 11,000 होगा तो हम सेलिब्रेट करेंगे, 9,000 होगा तो चाय पी के सो जाएंगे, समझे ना? So, but see, because you don't know. I mean, there is no point in sweating about something which you don't know. And when the bull run is going to come on your way, and why it is going to come your way, you don't know. I have seen, as a businessman, I'm telling you now, as a businessman, that is the portfolio. As a businessman, whatever good things have happened, big things have happened in Motilal Oswal. 3-4 things have happened which we could never anticipate. We prepared for that. But we could say, like, as I told you, when I opened the door in 1990, we were struggling to be a member. We had 76 square foot office, 176 square foot office, sharing with 4 guys. You know, in Natwar Chamber, Dalal Street. So, but who knew that we are going to make 30 crores in next 12 months, 18 months? So I think the fortunes come unannounced for the people who have done their process right. You know, you have to be unleveraged. You have to be ready to face some losses. Don't put your short-term money in the stock market. Don't be greedy. You know, don't expect too much from the market. The long-term returns will confirm. You know, like long-term return is 14-15%. Finally, you're not going to make more than that. At some point of time, it looks doubler and tripler. But for one doubler or two doubler and tripler, there will be a lot of small and mediocre companies in your portfolio. So averages, ultimately, it is going to be tough to beat the index. Very rarely you will be able to beat index for long periods of time. So I think those are the realities of life. And yet, you will make about, say, probably we would have made about 20%, 21, 22% across the time period, whereas the index would have done about 14-15%. So that 6-7% edge is what we die for, and we always try to make 10-15-20% kind of an edge. But we know that in the long run, the creating 5-6% alpha also is very tough now, because the competition in the industry has increased. You are no more retail versus retail. When we started in 90s, we were retail versus retail. Today, retail is up against the institutional investors, insiders, large corporates, FI investors, and they have a huge research muscles and huge access to the management and all kinds of analytical capabilities. But being a retail investor has also its own strength. You can buy very small companies. You can buy very early in the game, because institutional investors typically don't come before it is $1 billion market cap. So sub-billion is all open for the retail guys. And smaller the companies, more it is retail than institution. 1,000 crores, 2,000, 3,000 crores. I mean, every company starts from that level. Even Infosys started from 200 crores. Today it is 2.5-3 lakh crores. So in India, it's a wonderful thing to see the small companies becoming mid and then very large. And getting 1 or 2 companies right in your portfolio, direct portfolios, I think it can just change the fortunes of the guys. So that's been the story of mine in terms of stock market and building a company. And it has been a wonderful journey. And I think many more booms are ahead. Now, we can't know when it's going to come and how ferocious it would be. You know, I mean, looking at the liquidity, what is there, if by chance India ever picks up the earnings and gets into bull run, it will be, you cannot believe the kind of bull run potential we are creating. It's just that things are not falling in place, and corporates are not doing well, and economy is not doing well. If economy were to pick up from the current COVID to say 8-9% growth, which is, I'm not asking for too much, but we have to pick up for 2-3 years this thing. I mean, everything can change. Look at Indian situation right now. We have more than $500 billion of reserves, and forex reserve is just growing every week. Because the world has 0 interest rate, India has 5-6% interest rate. So clearly, money is going to flow towards this side, even if they don't like India. Money will come here. There are enough Indians sitting outside who love India and who have confidence in India. Second, oil prices are soft. World has enough of China. Every 10-20 years, one big economy emerges. And my sense is that this next 1 or 2 decades, nobody can say for sure, but India has a very good chance of becoming very large. And we have to play our cards well. So Forex is there. We have right kind of demographics. We have digital economy on our side. I mean, this is a huge help today. If digitally you are as competitive as anywhere in the world, and you are an emerging economy, so you are not in America or Europe or something. You are India at $2,000 per capita, but my digital capability is as good as anywhere in the world. So that gives me a huge advantage over other emerging economies. So I would think, except for our own and our own steps, economic management. And in economic management also, I would say that people in Delhi, they are doing their best. I mean, there's no intellectual deficit out there. It's just that it's just not happening. I mean, you are trying to put all kinds of things to set the fire right, but the fire is not catching the fire. So, it's that situation right now, but I'm hopeful that we'll get back our 6-7% growth much earlier in next, post-COVID. I would say 21, 22 should be a good year. And generally, when you come up from this corrected kind of phase, next 3-4 years is a very, very good year. And from there, economy has to build up. So I would think that, we are in a situation which is, there is a 10-15% chance that yes, it can still correct from here. And I won't be surprised in that. But if you look at 3-year basis, I would say we have a very good chance of making serious amount of money.
So Ramdevji, you've compounded your wealth almost 1,600 times. Buffett has compounded at 85,000 times. And I mean, it looks so simple in the hindsight, but why there are very few names like you, and why don't we see traders in the billionaire list? And I mean...
Yeah, so actually, it is more of a rare event, I'm telling you. Stock market, serious money is made by very few guys. If you see the Forbes list also, there's only one Buffett. The rest all are their own entrepreneurs. Whether it is Bezos or whether it is Walmart or Zuckerberg, and ये सब खुद के entrepreneurs हैं, because they have believed in their own enterprises and they live through good time, bad time. So having that unlimited patience. See, a lot of people must have bought Apple when Apple was $5 billion market cap, but none of them are staying with him. They've all sold out. So they didn't become a trillionaire. So, but an entrepreneur doesn't have a choice. He has to sit through. So finally what happens is the guy holds a good enterprise, because the enterprises come and go. But the entrepreneurs, they have to stay on to a good enterprise or bad enterprise. The good enterprise, when they are successful, we talk the story about them. The guys who go under, nobody talks about them. So all the, in the richest people list, there is a survivorship bias. The people who survived and prospered, they only are being talked. So they're all entrepreneurs, single stock portfolios of their own, and rest all except for Buffett. Everybody is single stock portfolio. I don't remember anybody who is say even $100 billion of the, kind of picking stocks from the market and becoming $100 billion. So, so making that kind of fortune, and that too, Buffett is now 90 years old, and he started from age 11. So this is 80 years of 78, 79 years of compounding at the rate of 20%. So, I mean, I started doing this from age 30. So, so this is the story of about 32 years. But 32 and 80 years compounding are two different things altogether. If I can do this for next 10 years, even my name will be shining kind of, So,
And I'm
so
sure you'll be there for sure
no, but
with your
doing it,
passion. And,
yeah, it is there. But what I'm saying is that even health has to be great. Health has to be also on your side. You should not be impaired. And your own intern, and India is a crazy place. After some time, everybody starts saying that, boss, what do you do with the money? What will you do with the money? So, दान दक्षिणा करो, खत्म करो, जाओ, retirement ले लो. इस टाइप का कुछ बातचीत हो जाता है और दिमाग घूम गया अपना. From money making to something else, then the story is over.
yeah. No, I'm sure this will not happen for most of our investors also, because they have to create wealth along with you and for many years to come.
Yeah.
Tell me, sir, over the years you've developed your framework and you've been writing. You've been extremely passionate. I think passion is one of the things, because I've seen whenever you go for Berkshire's meetings, you are the one who's making notes even at this juncture and writing and sitting till the last. So is that passion helped you to also come up with your wealth creation study over so many years, and also highlight a little bit about your QGLP framework, sir?
Yeah. So it is passion and profession. When these two things come together, you are in the best spot for the day. I mean, none of the days are difficult for me because market is down 2,000 points. Then also I'll go smiling to the office, and if it is up by 1,000 points, of course I have to be smiling. So, so the issue is that I don't have any issue with the market conditions on a day-to-day basis. I am equally peaceful and equally balanced. So, but I have seen, all the guys, Virat Kohli and all, you see the kind of workout they do, or Shah Rukh Khan and all, the kind of perfection they have in their dances or anything. See, doing that level of perfection, Amitabh Bachchan at the age of 77, 78, when he comes in Kaun Banega Crorepati or any audience, when you see in any hall, when he enters the hall, even as a performer, I think the whole stadium stands up. So, the issue is that the passion, he must have been doing it for last 60, 65 years. And he's becoming better by the day. And these guys, they read a lot, let me tell you. I have visited one or two their houses, Amitabh Bachchan, Amir Khan and all. They have tons of books. And I was asking Amir, you read all these books? Yes, they read all these books. So the issue is that I think reading is very important part of life, and that takes you far in terms of, because see, once you come out of your school, what is that which will differentiate you from others? It is the books only, help of books, what books you read and how intensely you read. So I think reading is one thing which has made a difference, and clarity of your purpose and clarity of goal, what you want to do. So I want to become a good investor. I want to bring excellence in investing, equity investing. So that particular sustained purpose and trying to learn what you don't know through the wealth creation studies and become better. That is how. And equity market is one thing. It is like a Wimbledon tennis, where if Federer doesn't come out with 2 new tricks every year, he cannot be reaching the final 12th time, 13th time. So what are those 2 new tricks? That is what we have to do in the stock market. We have said in 2014, after 24 years or 18 years, that this is a QGLP, but QGLP version, QGLP original version has been told to you all, but QGLP version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that improvement is continuous, which is what is being practiced in the portfolios.
Talking about books, sir, and Buffett always talks about Ben Graham's book. Prakhar, one of our viewers wants to know which are the 3 books that you would recommend have influenced your life or career.
Yeah, so for investing career, I would say, Buffett Letters. It's a must read. I read it through 65 till last year. And now you get in a nice bound, this thing you can order in Amazon or wherever. Buffett Letters. That's something which is very thick, but somebody is very serious must read. But now his biography Snowball is also written very well. So maybe I have read both. So It depends what you want to read. But Buffett letters I found was very good because it was original handwriting. That is the only place where he writes. So his own evaluation and every situations have been detailed very well. That is one. Second, Common Stocks, Uncommon Profits by Phil Fisher.
Yeah.
Then One Up on the Wall Street by Peter Lynch. Then then there are tons of books, and this Michael Porter's Competitive Strategy. Because in investing, what I have understood is that people make money. Making money is not about how complex and sophisticated product you have. It's all about what is the competitive intensity. If there is a vada pav guy on a street in the street and he's the only guy, he can make money. But if you are flying a plane, I'm running an airline with so much of challenge and risk and everything, you can lose serious amount of money because there is an intense competition. So the competition is everything. Understanding competition is everything, and there is no better place than Michael Porter's 5 Forces strategy. So that is I think I would say after Buffett, if I have to touch anybody's feet, it is going to be Michael Porter's. So that's another one. Then I would say even Michael Mauboussin, Expectations Investing. That's a great book and great author, I would say. So then there are, there is another book which is 1938 classic called Theory of Investment Value by Burr William. That's another book which is actually all-time classic, where everybody tells you how to value a stock. But this is the book which tells you how to price a stock, how price is determined. Because a lot of us, we don't know how price is determined. Because we are pujari of price. Day in, day out, we are seeing price. Do we know how price is determined? Not only of the stocks, anything on this earth, how price is determined. Very little talk about how price is determined. So like that, you keep every book you read, you learn only one thing. You read 300 pages or 400 pages. If you are lucky, I'm telling you.
Yeah, somebody wants to know we'll post it. We'll watch your interview again and we'll post the names of the books.
Names, yeah. It's not some great thing. But this Burr William book is I think, little thick book. And see, the fun thing about the book, the classics, is that you definitely learn something. Like Phil Fisher, the 14 scuttlebutt points. I mean, you have to mug it up completely. And that is actually framework for analyzing. That was the first, way to look at the company, what to look for in the company. And then, as you read, now there's so much of research available, so much of Googling is there. You can figure out what you don't know. See, as an analyst, you have to really figure out what you don't know and then try to fill that up. And for that, you'll always find some suggestions from somebody and go about reading it. And bringing diversity in the reading is more important. See, reading like Buffett, you should not be spending 5 books or something like that. You read Snowball, you're done. Move on. So it's very important. Otherwise, you read 20 books on Buffett. What are you doing? You're just repeating the same paper. So it is important to move on and find what are the knowledge gaps and fill it up.
Yeah. So I want to take this conversation a little away and get it slightly on the recent context. I remember on 19th March in an interview when the markets had corrected by almost 30%, you said that this is not coronavirus problem, but this is fear of coronavirus.
Yeah.
And interestingly, in this times, in May, in Buffett's letter, Buffett said that fear is more contagious than the virus itself. So this time it was March, you said that, the fear, it's not a coronavirus problem, it's a fear of coronavirus. And May, Buffett says that, fear is more contagious than coronavirus itself. And then you also said, I remember somebody asking you that, will you invest? So you said, Paisa ka hai, I'm always 100% invested. Yeah. And we get many a times these questions that why didn't our investors ask us that, why didn't we tell them in Jan or Feb to exit the market? So you've always been running 100% long funds and 100%, you at personal level also, you've maintained that you would want to remain in remain fully invested. So any thoughts on those lines, sir? That should the investors also follow that as a strategy, or and you've done that as
No,
a
no, 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 no. See, investor should follow what he is comfortable with, because it is his money, it is his psychological comfort. Okay, what I have done, that makes me comfortable, I am peace with that. So he has done the hard work of earning money. Now deploying money, he must do with his comfort. He must not do what he doesn't understand. Buffett's one of the biggest thing is not about great company or great business. He says the first point is, do you understand? If you don't understand that it's a great business and great management, don't even bother about it. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to somebody else who understands. Like technology, he said fundamentally, technology, I don't understand what is going to happen in next 10, 15 years, and hence I will stay away. I understand what is going to happen in Coca-Cola, so I will buy Coca-Cola. But I will not buy Microsoft, though Bill Gates is on his board. So, I mean, that kind of discipline he has. So that is one part. Second, this fear thing came because I read a book called Your Money, Your Brain. You know, I'm forgetting the author's name. I think Michael Lewis or some. Huh?
Jason Zweig.
Jason Zweig. Your Money, Your Brain. That book is amongst the early, investing book on behavioral finance. So there, I think I read it in 2007 or something. So he talked about saying somewhere the fear is far more disastrous compared to even Third World War. What stock prices fear produces, even Third World War cannot produce. So I remember using this quote. I had just read it freshly, and I was asked to speak in Wharton, India conference, and there I spoke about this. They were at absolutely the bottom. I said, this is the bottom made by the fear. It can only be better. This is the best time to start in the marketplace. That's what I spoke in there, and hence I stayed with that. And I could clearly see the problem is, and actually when the corona started in India, corona itself is not looking so bad. I mean, cases were very few. We thought that India is fairly insulated and it's not going to be impacted so much. So the 30-40% damage to the stock price was too much for what problem was visible at that point of time. So clearly it was the fear which was much bigger than the actual problem. And in fear is such a psychological thing that it presses people to do a lot of crazy things. So particularly, the fear, like what Buffett said in this letter or this presentation, he said some people are more fearful for the same event than others. Like a price decline of 10-15% doesn't even kind of impact me. It doesn't make me even think. In fact, the stocks in which I'm convinced that we are ahead, and when it doesn't do well on a particular day, I say market will come around. Market will definitely come around. They're fools. I mean, they're not getting it. What is going to happen in next 15 days? So you should be confident that what you are thinking is right and what others are doing in the market on that particular day is not right. So the fear is one thing which is to be, if you are very weak in your construct, if you are weak in construct in terms of handling fear, market is a place where it can be jubilant most of the time. I would say 7 out of 10 years will be jubilant, but there'll be 2-3 years of fearful kind of environment. And some months of those 3 years can be really scary. So do you have that mindset? Because if you don't stay through, say like just the decline from 12,000 to 7,600, and if by chance below 8,000, if you had given up, boss, enough is enough, let me run. You imagine what would have happened to you. And it went from 8,000 to 7,600 purely because of these fearful guys. And literally stocks went half in mid caps and all. So clearly the guys who don't have the mental makeup to handle this kind of volatility will find it very tough to buy stocks and hold through. So the fear is, you must see yourself whether you are peaceful with your allocations in the equities, because there will be gyrations, and whether COVID or no COVID, or without COVID also you can have, in 2008 there was no COVID, just the business cycle gave us 65% correction. In 2000, again, on the back of Y2K, we saw 65% correction. This time, actually, correction is lower, only 40%. But the intensity of the fear was so high. So I think fear is a very powerful greed and fear. So greed brings you in and fear throws you out. So be careful you're not being thrown out.
Yeah.
I mean, greed is good. Greed is good in the sense that without greed, you should not be coming to the stock market. But you should also have good control over your fear.
Sir, to that, in your 30 years, you've seen so many events. You've seen India going back and asking for money in Switzerland, from there to current reserves. How do you rate the current COVID crisis or the current crisis compared to previous 2008 or many other crises?
See, one of the things this Ken Fisher fellow said, I mean, that turned the market actually. I mean, he's the only bullish guy in the global
Yes.
forums.
Yes.
And he said this is not a classical business cycle decline. It is a man-made decline. We have shut our economies. We are saying that we will stay home, we will not consume, we will not go to watch the stadium. So we have shut ourselves artificially for 6 months to 1 year. And as we come out, the way it is happening in US, the fastest decline to unemployment of 12-13% and fastest recovery also. So he's bang on, and who knows how long this vaccine comes or something like that. But we have to learn to live with this. Some vaccines, some medicine, some good healthcare. You know, once you are ready with 1 lakh beds in Mumbai, then ठीक है भाई, मतलब 5-7 दिन आगे रहो यहाँ पर. And there'll be some medicine, some vaccine. So we'll also learn how to handle, patient over a period of time. Better and better medicines will come, better and better care will come, and hopefully someday there won't be anything. And so I think right now, ये building में 2 COVID case आ गए, ऐसा मतलब it makes a news. Probably a cancer case doesn't make a news as much as the COVID case makes. So I think in 6 months, 8 months time, I think it will become order of the day, and everything will become normal, hopefully, and economy will come back. So what is the question you said?
Yeah. So the other question is, how do you see this? My friend Manoj Didi asked that the US FDA's implication on pharmaceutical businesses in India, and how do you see the anti-China movement which is gearing up, and how do you see planning that?
I still can't fathom how somebody can, I mean, China shooting in his own foot. I mean, this is like calling for the trouble. I mean, विनाश काले विपरीत बुद्धि जो बोलते हैं ना हम लोग, ऐसा टाइप का है. I mean, already you are handicapped in terms of everybody in the whole world is blaming you, and then you want to do this border thing. So I spoke to somebody in Hong Kong, and he says that in their mind it is not a serious stuff. It's just a maneuvering, and there's nothing serious. So it is at this juncture they don't think it is anything serious. So, but I don't think it is going to help China. And it is not that they are doing this only with India. With Australia also they have a trade ban or something like that. Japan in any case is ongoing trouble. Korea, Taiwan is also trouble. So I think they have this kind of a thing going on all over. So I don't know what is the global strategy they have, and how this China containing of China in its current shape and size. I think the world has to struggle. And then I think another big event which is coming up is the US election. So popularity vote of Mr. Trump is very low. So I don't have any view on that, but a lot of people who are knowledgeable, they say that it might be very tough for him to come back. And if that doesn't happen, then we'll again see a lot of reversal of the policies. Whatever has been done in the last 4 years, which has created a lot of chaos world over, we'll also see huge reversals, which will again be upsetting. And if by the US future drops, of US markets also drop by 20-30% because of that, then you know what happens here. वहाँ पर छींक लगती है तो यहाँ पर बुखार आता है. So you know, so ये सब problems हैं अभी.
Sir, and how do you see? Would you really, what is your view on gold and real estate at this moment from here on? I know you've always been an equity guy, so
भाई देखो, मैंने तो कोई एक भी तोला गोल्ड नहीं खरीदा है. जो मेरे पास घर में जो है ज्वेलरी वगैरह का वो है, बट आई नेवर taken gold as a serious investment bet, or some say 5 or 10% of my wealth to be in gold. That I've never thought, because there's one, I mean, businesses, they earn 15-20% on the capital employed. Here it is just a dead asset. It's an inflation hedge. So though in last 8-10 years it has done as well as the index, probably must have beaten over some of the products also. But I think longer run, I'm not a big believer of gold, but I'm not as against it as much as I was 5-7 years back. But still I'll not buy.
and real estate?
Real estate अपने बस की बाहर की बात है, बहुत headache है. I mean, in India to do real estate, I mean, you have to be a Pathan to do real estate as an investor, I'm saying. The business is different, but to manage a rental property, or to manage a, kind of a portfolio of land parcels or anything, you need to have a different mindset. It's not for everybody. मेरे हिसाब में के लिए, I don't think I can run 20 plots all over the country or somewhere and be peaceful. Every day, you have to have an organization to run real estate portfolio. Here it is simple. I mean, give order to Nikhil and Nikhil can buy 100 crores worth of portfolio overnight and manage it. So it's much easier.
Sir, we're coming to the end. Last couple of questions for you. One is, what are the sectors you think, or would you still stick to companies post the COVID, after COVID situation?
See, broadly, good businesses and good companies remain same. I mean, just the COVID doesn't change that much. What COVID has changed, I would say, is that I've come to believe that telecom is looking much better as a sector, because despite so much of trouble and losses, they've delivered to the citizens and the corporates and everything. The whole economy is running on the back of the telecom infrastructure they have created, despite the fact they have not made even a penny in last 10 years. So I think now consolidation is complete, and we are seeing what Jio is doing. So I think that sector looks promising. But so that we have added in our portfolios across. That looks to be one sector which is looking promising, but still deal is not staged for making money. That money machine is not started yet. But it is expected that volume growth and the price ARPU growth, which is expected to come in next 3-4 years, that should bring bonanza for this sector. Second, I would say pharmaceuticals. I mean, it was always important, but now I think regulators all over the world, India as well as US and all, they'll be far more lenient for many years to come.
Yes.
They were very, very tough on most of the companies for no rhyme and reason. So I think they'll be far more accommodative, and they will be very quick in giving permissions and all. So I think health concern on the this thing will be high, and hence some of the select pharma stocks should do very well. So these are two sectors where incremental change is there. Another thing is that financials have been the most hammered kind of a segment, and the bottoms will be made by the financials, and the next round of top again will be made by financials, because financials is a very large segment of the Indian this thing, and because there is a lot of private banks and private NBFCs and insurance companies are there, they are likely to make tons of money from whatever bottom you say. So 2021 is clearly wash out for them. There are all kind of poisoning, unexpected change in the behavior of the client and business cycles and all. But if we believe that by March 21, everything should be more or less in place, then 21-22 should be the year for most of the business recovery.
Okay, sir. So I think that sums up a lot of things that you've done, and you've just narrowed. I mean, you started from a broader perspective to narrowing down, and it's been a very inspiring story. I've always been inspired by you whenever I've met you. I think I would just want to sum up the 3 rules that you spoke about, and somebody in fact had asked what are the 3 rules of investing. So would you say that those 3 rules that you spoke about vision to see, courage to buy, and patience to hold. Is that what you would want to sum up, or you would have some other mantra also to give to?
See, don't time the market. I'll tell you, I mean, we spend so much of time in trying to time the market. Equity investing, I mean, for us, of course, it's different because we are in the business of equity investing. So, for our clients, they are not in the business of equity investing, but they have a savings which needs to be handled, which is a very different thing than my profile kind of thing. So, as a private citizen, I would say that somehow I would get into say how much I can take the risk. I mean, risk of loss of capital kind of thing, where there can be 50% decline at some point of time. So I cannot take that kind of risk on 100%. So say 50% we can put in the risk for higher return and some losses for temporary. So that 50% I would always remain invested. I would not time too much because you'll always be wrong. I can tell you this. You can write on piece of paper what you think today, what the market will do, and 1 month henceforth you go and check what the market did actually. I have tested enough of them. I walk with 5 guys in the morning, and they are master traders. And every day morning after I finish the walk, I definitely do this exercise. What do you think of the market today? Just to tell them that you don't know anything. That's the point. And they get wrong so badly, like it's not funny. I mean, of course, they get right also many times. So we congratulate them for getting right. And then we again ready for the next day's questioning. So I don't think they get 50% even time right. So you don't have, I mean, there are professional guys who are eyes are stuck to the screen. So for a common person who is doing some wonderful job or business, they have no hope in hell to time the market right. So I think don't time the market, and in that the world over, everybody is spend so much of energy is not funny. So
Yes.
that is one thing I would say very strongly. And then of course, courage. You should have courage to buy into businesses, good businesses at reasonable prices, and hold it, and have a lot of patience, unlimited patience.
Yeah, because markets can remain irrational longer than we remain solvent, and we've seen
Yeah,
this. In fact, Mr.
yeah.
Buffett
But
got it wrong with airline stocks
yeah, so a
this
lot
time.
of people they ask me how long is the long term. I said till you make money.
Yeah,
I mean, see, किसको मालूम यार कभी बुल रन आएगा. हमको नहीं मालूम था 89 90 में कि सामने बुल रन है करके. अदरवाइज 25 लाख में थोड़ी हमको मेंबरशिप मिलता था, हमको 2 करोड़ मिलता था.
correct.
So nobody knows what is ahead. I'm telling you, you can note down 3-year prediction of all the Maharathis. Every single guy will be wrong by wide margin.
Absolutely.
So let's not. I mean, I have seen this economy going from literally 100, 200 billion dollars to bankruptcy to 500 billion dollars of. I'm yet not able to reconcile that we have 500 billion dollars of reserve, and every week three. You see the rupee is so strong, and RBI is continuously buying. I'm quite sure this week it will be pretty big. And Reliance का एक भी पैसा नहीं आया अभी. Reliance का money is yet to flow in. That FIPP approval is yet to come. So another 15, 20, 30 billion dollars is yet to amass. So the 500 to 600 billion dollar journey will be the fastest for India. A country which was struggling with $600 million reserve. A country cannot print a forex. He can do anything, but he cannot print forex. It gives a huge comfort to the political establishment. So what I'm saying is that you don't know how big a thing can happen. Aapka agriculture, a lot of reforms are happening silently.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of reform in mining side. There's a lot of reform on the agriculture side. On the banking, I believe now they're actually out to sell their PSUs. So let's see what all can happen. I mean, right now we are completely disappointed with the performance of current establishment in last 5-6 years. I hope next 5 years is better for us.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, even Buffett got it wrong. Richard Branson had said that if you want to become bankrupt, buy an airline. If you have $1 billion and buy an airline, and Buffett went and bought, and then he went and sold at this point of time, and it has just gone up again. So it can go terribly wrong in investment worlds. But Buffett also said that don't bet against USA, and you have said that don't bet against India. So
No, Buffett this time again this speech. One of the thing was it is not about going wrong in the stock market. Everybody will go wrong one time or other. It is about the batting average. आपने 10 बार स्टॉक खरीदा, 10 बार में कितने बार आपको मार पड़ा और कितने बार आपको अच्छा आया? If out of 10 times, 2 times you have lost money, it doesn't prove anything. But 8 times you have multiplied many times. So, you know, the beauty of stock market is downside is limited, upside is unlimited.
Yeah.
So that you must not forget. You buy a portfolio of 10 stocks of 10 rupees each. Even 5 stocks go to zero, which doesn't happen. But 5 stocks go 50 times, 20 times, 100 times. What happens? Where is the 50 bucks?
Correct.
So, but if you don't want to take the risk of going wrong in those 3 or 4 stocks, so that other 5 cannot happen, because we don't know when we buy any stock where we go wrong also. We go with a lot of hope and vision and effort and research. What not we do? I mean, you'll go nuts to the extent we go to when we put people's money. We are not careless. In fact, we as a professional, I have realized when I was managing my own money, I was far more casual in buying, selling. But the moment we have mixed our money with the people's money, we have become extremely careful, and it has done wonderfully well for me that I'm managing my money with the people's money.
Absolutely, and that's what, sir. In fact, we follow the same approach. I invest in the same mutual fund investment schemes where my investors' money is. My portfolio and investors' money almost replicates across our family also. On that, and we've seen that is what you've been doing also, and we get inspiration from you, Motilal ji. I remember Motilal ji once telling me that in good times become bigger, but in bad times try to become better. And I'm sure you are doing that at every day and every minute. On that note, I want to thank you, and also like one of our investors from Singapore has just written that we hope to see Ramdev Agarwal letters very soon, and so
I'm not good in writing. I'm not that insightful every month and all, but it's a good suggestion. I'll think over it and maybe we'll institutionalize this. We
geez,
write BRST, but it's not the kind of thing he's saying. We must look at about it. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to you,
Thanks for the
Ayushi.
opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you, sir. Over to you, Ayushi.
Thank you, sir, for being so generous in sharing your knowledge and sparing an hour on a Saturday evening for this session. This learning over investment through your experience and your philosophy towards life too has been a wonderful lesson for all of us. A big thank you to everyone who had attended our webinar. And like last time, we are absolutely thrilled with the overwhelming response to this webinar and greatly appreciate your attendance. I would also like to thank our beloved head, Mr. Nikhil Nayak, for inspiring us always. Also, no event has been successful with a single person, so I extend my big thanks to our entire team at Nayak Wealth, which we call the Nayak family, for their support in making this a successful event. After learning the art of wealth creation, stay tuned for our next webinar on the art of living longer by Mr. Madhukar Talwarkar, CEO of Talwarkar Health Club, on the same day, same time next week. Till then, just chill and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.